Lewis Hamilton's Miami Grand Prix weekend was difficult and disappointing, until the last 15 laps, when a fighting final stint gave him what I live for. Hamilton is hoping things will get better when they hit the track again in Imola, where Mercedes will finally introduce their fully upgraded B-spec car. This upgraded car will finally be a car with a more conventional setup and aero configuration. But will this be enough, or will Mercedes be left out for the coming years? Let's dive in and find out what we can expect from Mercedes in the upcoming years after this weekend's Miami GP and all the news regarding their big upgrade. After running outside the points for most of the race and requiring pit stops for other cars to move him into the top 10, a long opening stint followed by a series of overtakes propelled Hamilton to a 6th place finish that had seemed extremely unlikely to begin with. And when Hamilton emerged from his pit stop, his irritated remark when asked for a race report very well described up how things had been going since Mercedes' performance nosedived in second practice on Friday. People ahead got to stop, he asked. Negative, came the response. Most people have stopped, so are racing the cars ahead. Hamilton was absolutely baffled. You said, how have I ended up 10th? He was actually 9th and was told that good improvement would mean going up to 6th place battle between Charles Leclerc and Pierre Gasly. The fact was that Hamilton's protracted first stint on hards meant he was constantly preparing for a late charge on mediums. After slipping back behind cars he was already behind at the start of the race. While Hamilton was upset, he would soon be free. With the tyre advantage, he could go hunting. First, Valtteri Bottas with the switchback out of the final corner. Then Kevin Magnussen with an easy DRS-assisted overtake, after closing a 6-second lead. Leclerc and Gasly were 5 seconds ahead, but Hamilton had them on his sights. He grabbed them as they squabbled with 5 laps to go, and passed Gasly half a lap after Leclerc had done the same, diving down the inside at turn 11, then doing the same to a somewhat more stubborn Leclerc 1 lap later. The applause from his crew at the finish line was well merited, as Hamilton celebrated respectable points for Mercedes under the circumstances. But there was also a personal triumph here. That last lap was practically a detox from everything that had gone before it. Hamilton isn't here to finish 6th, but simply fighting for something was definitely a pleasant psychological shift. "Oh man, mega," he responded when asked how fulfilling that last run had been after the weekend. "Just to be in the sprint race in the last race, for example, I was going backwards. It's just demoralizing when you're going backwards. It's really tough. So it was great to have pace, seeing the cars up ahead, seeing the progress, and knowing that we were going to battle with people. I had a couple of great overtakes as well. That's what I live for." Qualifying 13th in Mercedes' most perplexing event to date was a season low for Hamilton. He or teammate George Russell, or both, might have been eliminated in Q2. That was just the reality of the car in Miami on 1 lap. Hamilton was irritated by the way the final run in Q2 was handled, believing that getting on track sooner would have resulted in a smoother and more productive preparation. But for whatever reason, he didn't get the lap in, while Russell did, and Hamilton was facing down the barrel of an even worse weekend than it already was. To begin with, the race had a similarly frustrated tone. Starting on hard tyres and running long meant patience and endurance were required. But any hopes were dashed by a lap 1 collision with Nico Hülkenberg, which temporarily persuaded Hamilton he had an issue. After it was overcome, another obstacle arose. Hamilton's progress was slow since he was stuck in a DRS train and had no visible speed advantage at this stage of the race. Even when the wind kicked up, the race didn't get underway until the pit stop. Given Hamilton's tyre advantage, it would be deceptive to claim that his late ascent up the order was the consequence of blazing speed. He accomplished a solid, effective job in a favourable situation that he'd worked hard to create for himself. The Mercedes is simply not that quick. He lapped slightly faster than Ocon, who was on a nearly identical strategy, and 8/10 slower than race winner Max Verstappen's shorter final stint. But Hamilton took advantage of this moment, assisted by obviously good racecraft, and left an impression that has been fairly unusual in 2023, that he had a great time. "It felt great to see the Ferrari up ahead and be catching them bit by bit," he said. "It's really impressive that they're so quick on a single lap, but I don't know what was going on within the race." But to come from 13th and to get back into the hustle with them was great. If we had qualified where I probably should have qualified, we'd have had a much easier and smoother day. But I prefer days like this, where there's a bit of adversity and you have to pull it all together and deliver. It's great fun to do that. Miami was the last race of Mercedes W14 launch spec, ahead of significant changes coming to the floor, side pod and suspension for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. The Brackley team is hoping that its new-look W14 will give a stronger foundation for development while alleviating some of Hamilton's and teammate George Russell's driving difficulties. Thus, Mercedes, like other teams, will debut its much-anticipated car overhaul at the next Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. This improvement has been planned since before the Bahrain Grand Prix. Mercedes has revealed that the improvement would comprise a new front suspension specification, a new floor, and redesigned side pods, as we revealed in one of our recent videos. The side pods are unavoidably a hot topic, as they have been since Mercedes unveiled their 2022 car with 0 side pods. Despite the fact that the design evolved this year, with somewhat larger side pods, it was basically carried over. During the Bahrain Grand Prix weekend though, technical director Mike Elliott stated that Mercedes is working on a new side pod that would necessitate some alterations to elements under the bodywork. Elliott stated that while these side pods would alter from existing specs, they will not be a carbon duplicate of the Red Bull idea. Toto Wolff though stated in Miami that the side pod design will be more traditional. However, the other modifications are also significant. The redesigned front suspension and floor are anticipated to enhance the car's feel, address some of the rear instability, and allow the car to run a bit lower. After all, the lower you can run ground effect cars, the more downforce they create, providing, of course, that your mechanical platform is capable of controlling it and preventing difficulties with porpoising and bouncing. Wolff hopes that this will provide a new benchmark for the vehicle, and more crucially, that it will eliminate the unknowns and factors that have caused misunderstanding regarding the Mercedes W14 performance thus far. Mercedes anticipates an instant boost in performance due to improvements in aerodynamics and behavior, as well as enhanced stability due to the platform's control benefits obtained with front suspension adjustments. The enhancements have shown promise in simulation, but even if they perform as predicted on track, they are only one aspect of Mercedes' solution to the 2024 challenges. If the Imola project goes as planned, it will only be the first stage. The aim is that this will set Mercedes on the correct track with a car that has the capacity to compete with Red Bull. However, there are numerous major concerns. First and foremost, Mercedes must improve its understanding of its car. This will legitimize the route it has chosen and guarantee that it can continue to make progress for the remainder of the year. The long-term goal is to re-emerge as a title contender, which won't be possible until at least 2024. Then, Mercedes will have the opportunity to make big adjustments to the car's architecture that it is now unable to do due to the cost cap and restrictions. Wolff's definition of this upgrade as a reset is okay, but even if it works well and is the best course of action, Mercedes is still a long way behind. As he stated, this is a restart from what would have been a good start a year ago. Mercedes still has a long way to go, with Red Bull being a dominant force and continuing to improve, despite the limits in terms of wind tunnel and testing imposed by aerodynamic testing regulations and the team's extra restriction for exceeding the cost cap rules in 2021. By the time Mercedes hits the track next year with a car that integrates everything it wants to modify, Red Bull will be 2 years down the road with its own dominant design and understanding and mastery of these laws. Given how far behind Red Bull it now is, Mercedes making up that gap to catch up would be amazing. Even that extraordinary comeback necessitates Mercedes having a complete grasp of its upgraded car as soon as it touches the circuit at Imola. If the car continues to run there and Mercedes remain perplexed by its behavior, the task may become much more difficult. And it's possible that Mercedes won't be able to catch up until the new restrictions take effect in 2026 at the earliest. What do you think? Will Mercedes be able to catch up, or have they been too slow regarding their upgrades, and are they now doomed to play catch up until the new regulations hit? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. We'd love to read them and discuss them with you. Let's get ready for a thrilling race at Imola next week, as plenty is yet to come this season. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.